Hi guys, Jay Smith here. Welcome to the AskGolfNut channel. Welcome to part 2. If you haven't already seen part 1 though, you can click up there. There's a little card, click on there for part 1. If you can't see it though, because you're watching on TV or something like that, if you pop on my channel listing, part 1 will be directly under this video. So you can have a look at that one if you want to look at the looks, feel and performance into a simulator. But part 2, let's have a look to see if there's a winner in overall performance, peak heights, descent angles, ball speeds, etc. And also, more importantly, forgiveness. When you whack it all over the face and you miss-hit it from time to time, which one will help you more than the other? Now, after hitting about 50 or 60 shots with each, to get a really good understanding of averages between them and also miss-hit data, there are some differences between these two irons. So we do have to sort of be upfront about how these two perform, and there are differences. Now, I have these in 2 different shafts. Yes, I do. And so for the guys who haven't watched my content before, I am not shaft sensitive. I'm very fortunate in that sense, because that means I can have any shaft in whatever iron and it makes no real difference whatsoever. I've done tests in the past and I've got videos on my channel that showcase the difference between a scaffold pole shaft and a ladies super light shaft. It makes no difference to ball dynamics whatsoever. I swing exactly the same. That's down to how I load the shaft or how I don't actually load the shaft in transition, so it doesn't actually make an effect. I'm not saying shaft doesn't matter. All I'm saying is shaft doesn't matter to me, and the vast majority of golfers, if you go and get a custom fit and have different shafts in, yes, you need to be custom fit for shaft, because shaft can make and does make a huge difference. Just lucky enough not for me. But club head dynamics are the most important thing, so we'll be able to have a look and critique those to see what the differences between these two clubs are. So let's go have a look at the averages and the forgiveness at the end, because there is differences in forgiveness between these two irons. So first of all, we have JPX923 Forged, ball speed 114.1 miles an hour, launching at 19.2 degrees and spinning at just over 5,000, peaking up at 31 yards in the air and descending at 46.4 degrees at a carry of 163. Compare that up against the ZX5 Mark II, we have 112.6 miles an hour, so that's a mile an hour and a half, 1.5 miles an hour, not a lot difference. But then again, we'll look at the club head data and see what the differences are. So we're looking at 20.5 degrees of launch now rather than 19.2. So we are talking there is a difference in launch between these two. Whether the fact that the ZX5 has a slightly lower centre of gravity, we'll get onto that one, but I think it does, which then forces the golf ball going up in the air, but yeah, I won't get into it, and spinning at 4.8. So there does seem to be a couple of hundred RPM of difference between these two irons. Now, okay, they're within statistical blurring. If you look at standard deviation underneath, 300 and 300, there are within statistical blurring, but it's a consistent thing. So I would say on average that the 923 Forged spins at just a couple of hundred RPM more than the ZX5. So you look at it going up 32 yards in the air and descending at 47.1 degrees. So it's a 1 yard or so, depending of rounding, slightly higher, peak height higher in the air. That's because of its launch angle. And so therefore it descends a fraction steeper, over 0.7 of a degree, was it? It's nothing, 0.7 of a degree. But yeah, a carry of 162. So within 1 yard, exactly the same as the 923 Forged. It's just short of 1 yard. Yeah, so let's go have a look at the club head data to see what the differences are there. We're looking at club head speed for 923, 83.1 miles an hour. Efficiency, bang for your buck, remember. 1.37, so very good. Attack angle, 2.3 degrees down. And club path and face to path are very 0-0, so straight delivery. And loft, the all-important loft. 26.3 degrees, 2 mil toe, 1 mil high being the average strike, but I have standard deviation on there as a measure of my variance for all to critique. Compare that against the Srixon ZX5's 82.9 rather than 83.1, so 0.2 of a mile an hour. Efficiency is 1.36, so just fractionally less than the 923 Forged. Now, it is something that I have noticed just doing my testing, just the difference between the two. The 923 Forged, it seems just to want to fly off the face just a fraction more. We're not talking huge amounts, but it is slightly faster off the face. 3 degrees down attack angle, club path 1.6 from the inside and face to path is 0.8, so tiny baby draws, and a loft of 26.6 degrees, the all-important 26.6, so within 0.3 of a degree, that is it. So 0.3 of a degree makes no difference hardly at all. There is 1 degree of static between these and different shafts, but as you can see, it's quite easy to be able to, within 1 degree, marry the lofts between these two for apples to apples testing. And 0mm heel, 2mm low is my average strike against 2mm toe, 1mm high, so within a couple of millimeters, it's tiny. But then on average, 5mm and 3mm against 6mm and 3mm, I actually hit the ZX5 slightly better by 1mm than the 923 on average. But yeah, it's such small amounts. But you can see by the ball and club compare, if you actually look at the trajectories, the 923 does peak height slightly less than the ZX5. The ZX5, I think because of the fact that it's got a slightly lower centre of gravity, the CG on that head is lower than 923 Forged, so there is a want to get that golf ball launching higher straight away. The problem by doing so, and again it is or is not a problem, depends on how you look at it, that because the centre of gravity is lower in the head, it means it also spins it fractionally lower as well. Now, it's going a degree higher to start with and only losing out by a couple of 100 RPM, which is negligible to say the least. So it does mean that even at a slightly slower swing speed, that the ZX5 is peaking up slightly higher and therefore descending fractionally steeper. It is a minor amount, but again, it's there. So you've got to be honest about what the differences are between them. And because the club head dynamics are near on identical, it is literally how the head is working. I'm not adding 2 degrees or 3 degrees of extra loft to try and get the ball launching higher. They are exactly the same. Right, let's go have a look at the all-important misses, because again, there are some distinct differences between these two heads, and it's worthwhile showcasing how they're different. And if you know where you miss as a generalized strike pattern, whether you're middle to toe or middle to heel, middle to low, whatever it be, you can then see from this which one possibly will work better for you. Let's go do the 923 Forged first. I've picked nominal miss hits, not extreme shanks and toe shanks and tops and stuff like that. I've taken normal hits that you see golfers hit every single day. So the 923 Forged to start, the heel strike, 9mm heel, 4mm low, loft of 25 degrees. If you flick over to the ZX5, it's 10mm heel, 2mm high. So within 1mm gross, there's no difference between the two strikes, and 24 degrees aloft. Face angles are identical at 0.1, where the 923 done in 1.34 efficiency, the ZX5 has managed to do 1.36. Now there is a degree or so of loft difference between the two shots. However, 1 degree does not make 0.02 of an efficiency better. It's, I would say, on average, being honest, the Srixon ZX5 Mark II is more forgiving than 923 Forged out of heel strikes. So if you're a heeler, you like hitting the middle, but then you deviate towards the heel. Out of these two, the ZX5 will be better from heel strikes. Let's go low now. The 923 Forged to start, we've got 9mm low, 2mm heel, and loft of 25.5 degrees. Efficiency is 1.33. If you then go to 9mm low, 3mm toe rather than 9mm low, 2mm heel, which is shifting it across laterally just slightly, we are talking 25 degrees aloft against 25 degrees aloft is 0.6 of a degree. That is it. There's so little differences. But 1.33 a piece. It is very, very, very difficult to pull these apart when it comes to low strikes on the face. Possibly you might give it to Srixon just, but again, the only reason you'd have to do that is if you went to efficiency, they both are as efficient as each other, which means they both come off the face as fast for each clubhead mile/an-hour speed you put in, so there's no gain in the other in ball speed. So then you'd have to look at club dynamics and which one's launching higher and stuff like that. As soon as you start going into that, we are critiquing to the nth degree, but being honest, the launch angle on the ZX5 is fractionally higher than the 923, but we are talking small amounts. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're basically exactly the same. But if I had to push for a winner, I would say the ZX5 on countback as such, but it's very, very close. But yeah. So let's go to toe side of things, and 923 to start. We have 5mm high, 10mm toe, so that's 15mm off gross, and high on the face is generally speaking not good. Look at the efficiency on that one. This is where the 923 really does brilliantly. Toe strikes. It's built to work out of the toe. Now, also the ZX5 is but possibly not as aggressively as the 923 Forged. Look at that, 10mm toe, 5mm, 15mm and 1.38. Like, wow. If you then go to 11mm toe, 3mm high, so 14mm off growth, so 1mm better, but arguably obviously it's not as high in the face, then yeah, probably better than better, but yeah. We are looking at slight differences in loft. Not much, we're talking 27 degrees against 26, so 25.6 against 27.2, so there's 1.6 degrees or so of difference, but one is closed face with a higher loft, and will it counteract, and yeah, but 1.35. Either way, you're looking at the difference. One's with a closed face with higher loft, one's with a straight face and slightly lower loft. Again, as soon as you start closing faces, you generally speaking will get a better deflection rating anyway. And then so we are talking 1.35 to kind of get through it and make it nice and basic. 1.35, 1.38, 0.03. Even if you take the loft and the face angles into account, the 923 wins. There you go. So let's go to a slightly larger toe strike now. Not much, but a slightly larger toe strike. Remember, there's more on the toe for you to hit than the heel. So I would always, if you're going to miss out towards the toe, because there's much more room out of there than there is on the heel, because you've got a hosel on the end of the heel, and plus you have the toe that's moving faster than the heel or even the middle. So you kind of gain back because of rotation of the head. So let's go to the 923 first. 16mm toe. I've captured two basically exactly the same on 16mm toe, 0mm high, so exactly the same strike between them. But this one has 25 degrees of loft and 2.2 degrees open face. Generally speaking, an open face is always going to be less efficient, because an open face will kind of skip across rather than being a bludgeoned hit. But 24.5 degrees of loft at 1.35 from a 16mm toe with an open face. If you then flick over to the ZX5, 16mm toe again, 26.4 degrees rather than 24.5, so there is 2 degrees of loft, but it has got a 0.7 of a degree closed face. So a closed face is much more efficient than an open one, and then you've got obviously loft in the other three-dimensional plane, and so there's 2 degrees difference. Effectively, we are saying they would within reason cancel out. 1.32 against 1.35. The winner does go to 923 Forged, absolutely. So categorically, my conclusion out of the forgiveness, categorically out of the toe, the 923 Forged wins. Out of the bottom, or you'd have to argue, you could argue both ways, but being honest, I'd have to say that the ZX5 just pips it on low strikes, but that's on count back, which, yeah, you kind of get the idea. But then heel, ZX5 wins. And so depending on where you know you miss, again, you can look at this and see potentially one's going to work better for you than the other. So conclusion on it, when it comes to looks, guys, that'll be down to you, subjective. I like something which is plain looking, and because I'm a blade player, so I quite like just plain looks. These are both fairly busy for me on the back end. They look absolutely fine, they look quite nice, and it's definitely something that I would look to play in the longer irons, not necessarily the short irons. I'd definitely use my blades, but even I'm looking for in a 5-iron, should I swap my 5-iron out for something a little bit more helpful? And these would definitely come into that category. Feel-wise, I would say the 923 is fractions, it's differences in sound, but it's so close. I don't necessarily want to say there's a winner or not, because obviously they feel, with their springy faces, especially the 923, it does feel punchy. It does feel very punchy, and so does the ZX5. Is there a winner? Well, that would be subjective to the person who's using them and testing them. So again, that's very much so in the eyes of the beholder as such. But performance-wise, the ZX5 launches higher. Yes, it does. It's got a lower down center of gravity, which means it does initially launch the golf ball higher. Now that will work really well for very slow swing speed players, not so well for high swing speed players, and in the middle it doesn't really matter. Again, you're looking at the spin differences. The 923 Forged with a slightly higher center of gravity in the head will spin it fractionally more than the ZX5. Again, depending on how fast you swing and if you need that spin or you don't need that spin, dependent on a lot of things in flight terms, will work for you or not. But forgiveness, As you can see, there are differences between these two irons, so I would make your buying decision based on the fact of what you need for flight and then also what you need for forgiveness. So I hope you liked the video. If you have, thumbs up, go on YouTube, like so do I. Down there is a subscribe button. It's great for the channel if you could subscribe, so thank you. And next to that is a bell icon, that's a notification bell. If you click that one, that will notify you next time I upload another video. So I hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.